The Lost Treasure. The story of Samuel and his search for what truly matters. The wind blew gently through the wheat fields as a 10-year-old boy ran with his arms outstretched, feeling the touch of the stalks against his fingers. Daniel Mendez had always loved those moments in the countryside, where his father taught him that life was earned through hard work and God's blessing. "Never forget, son," his father, Jose, would say, "the true treasure is not in gold or silver, but in a life lived for God." From an early age, Daniel had learned to trust in God. His family was not wealthy, but their home was filled with love, prayers, and biblical teachings. Nights were sacred moments in his house. His mother, Anna, would read Bible stories before bed, and his father would pray with them, asking God for wisdom and provision. But life in the countryside was not easy. The family's livelihood depended on the harvest, and a bad year meant months of hardship. Daniel overheard his parents' conversations at night when they thought he and his siblings were asleep. They spoke about how money was barely enough and how they had to rely on God to get by. One day, when Daniel was 12, a severe drought struck. The fields withered, and the family faced one of their worst economic crises. That was when Daniel made his first big decision: to start working to help at home. He began selling lemonade and homemade bread in the town square. His mother helped him with the recipes, and his father encouraged him with words of support. God honors those who work with honesty, he reminded him. Every coin he earned, he handed to his mother with a smile. It wasn't much, but he knew he was doing his part. And though money remained scarce, the family's faith never wavered. During those years, Daniel began to notice something important. Business could be a tool to bless others. In the town square, he observed how some merchants were kind to their customers, while others cared only for their own profit. He decided that if he ever had his own business, he would do things differently. Years passed, and Daniel grew with a strong desire to better himself. He dreamed of studying business administration and opening his own restaurant, not just to serve food, but to promote Christian values. At 18, he moved to the city with a suitcase full of dreams and the firm conviction that God would guide his path. He didn't know that the challenge ahead would test everything he had learned about faith and the true meaning of wealth. The city was a completely different world from the countryside. The noise of cars, the bright advertisement lights, and the hurried pace of pedestrians made Daniel feel small and insignificant. But despite feeling overwhelmed, he kept his faith strong and began looking for opportunities to study and work. He found a job at a small cafe, washing dishes and cleaning tables. It wasn't the most glamorous job, but it allowed him to save some money and learn about the restaurant industry. Over time, he started observing how the business worked, customer service, inventory management, and how the owners ran the place. One day, while cleaning a table, he overheard two businessmen discussing a restaurant franchise that was booming. They talked about huge profits and how money was the only thing that mattered in business. Daniel felt a knot in his stomach. Was it possible to succeed without compromising his values? As months passed, Daniel faced more trials. Money was tight, and several times he felt tempted to abandon his dreams. But each night, as he knelt to pray, he remembered his father's words. The true treasure is in a life lived for God. Finally, after much effort and sacrifice, he managed to enroll in a university to study business administration. His days were filled with classes, work, and prayer. He knew the road would be tough, but he also trusted that God would open unexpected doors. What Daniel didn't know was that soon he would have an opportunity that would change his life forever. But with success, temptations would also come that would test his faith like never before. One day, while attending an entrepreneurship conference at the university, Daniel met an investor named Alejandro Fuentes. Alejandro was a well-known businessman in the restaurant industry, And after hearing Daniel speak passionately about his dream of opening a restaurant with Christian values, he was impressed. "I like your vision, young man," Alejandro said. "But tell me, are you willing to do whatever it takes to succeed in this business?" Daniel hesitated for a moment before responding. He knew that in the business world, many sacrificed their principles for success, but he didn't want to be one of them. "I am willing to work hard and trust in God every step of the way," he answered firmly. Alejandro smiled. "I like that. I have an offer for you." The businessman offered Daniel the opportunity to work as a management apprentice at one of his most exclusive restaurants. It would be a great chance to learn the business from the inside, and if he proved his worth, he could receive financial support to open his own restaurant in the future. Daniel accepted the offer with gratitude, seeing it as an answer to his prayers. But he would soon discover that, in the business world, trials of faith come quickly. The restaurant where Daniel started working was a luxurious place, frequented by businessmen, politicians, and celebrities. The expectations were high, and Daniel gave his best to prove his abilities. Alejandro guided him with advice, teaching him how to run a successful business. However, Daniel began to notice certain practices that clashed with his principles. Some employees lied to customers about ingredient quality, and at times, unethical deals were made with suppliers to cut costs. One day, Alejandro called him into his office. "Daniel, I want you to handle this month's accounts. I need you to adjust some numbers to make the reports look more favorable." Daniel felt a knot in his stomach. He knew what Alejandro was asking was wrong. Should he give in to pressure and compromise his faith for success? He took a deep breath and remembered his father's words. "Mr. Fuentes, I appreciate your trust, but I cannot do something that is not right. I prefer to work with transparency and trust that God will provide." Alejandro looked at him silently. Then he smiled slightly. "That's an interesting answer, Daniel. Let's see where your faith takes you." The real challenge had just begun. After refusing Alejandro's request, Daniel felt the tension in the restaurant rise. Some employees looked at him with distrust, while others silently admired him. Though his conscience was clear, he knew there would be consequences. One night, Alejandro called him back to his office. "Daniel, I know you're a man of principles," the businessman said, crossing his arms. "But in this world, principles can make you lose opportunities." Daniel took a deep breath. "I'd rather lose an opportunity than lose my integrity." Alejandro smirked coldly. "We'll see about that. Starting today, you're no longer a management apprentice. You're back to washing dishes." Daniel felt a sting in his chest, but he did not respond with anger. He knew God had a purpose for him. The following days were tough. His colleagues whispered behind his back, and some even ridiculed him. However, in the midst of difficulties, Daniel prayed each night, asking for strength. One evening, as he finished his shift, an older gentleman approached him. He was a regular customer at the restaurant, always polite and observant. "Young man, I've been following your story," he said with a smile. "I'm impressed by your integrity. Would you like a real opportunity?" Daniel looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" "I own a chain of restaurants that values honesty above all, and I believe someone like you would make a great leader." Daniel felt a shiver. God was answering his prayers. His trial was not over, but a new path was opening before him.